It's another exciting episode of Cats on Guard. I am your Captain MC Howe.
I'm Captain Richard Millian.
And we are going to tell you all the secrets from the flight deck, all the things you've ever wanted to know. If you want to become pilot, crew member, flight attendant, gate agent, I don't know how to do that, but the others I can tell you about.
I can tell you how to fly cargo. I can tell you how to fly passengers. I can tell you how to fly paper airplanes. You just write us an email.
catsonguard@gmail.com. Let's fly.
Hey, so this one time I went to get a job somewhere, and I don't even think they paid me.
What?
Yeah, like I went to work, and they were like, hey, we'd like to fly with you a bit, just to get the idea how you're doing and who you are as an individual, and then if we we'll kind of on the job train you. And yeah, so come on in on Tuesday. Your first flight will be at like 11 a.m., whatever it was. And I was 20 years old, maybe? Yeah, I think I was 20 years old.
Like an audition, like an interview, but audition?
Yeah, it was like Tuesday through the following Wednesday or something. I had a bunch of flights lined up, and I was like, this is cool. It's an airplane I would really like to fly. It's back home where all my family is. I don't have to live far away. So I show up. At the time I was 20 years old. I had been furloughed from my cargo job.
Wait a minute. 20 years old and you've already been furloughed?
I know, right? I was 19 when I interviewed there when I was 18. I got the job there just as I turned 19, and I'd worked there a bit. And
I was doing when I was 20?
Were you upside down doing keg stands?
No, I was delivering pizzas and I dropped one and it ended up upside down.
Ah!
Yeah.
Well, I wish I'd ended up upside down doing keg stands instead of working for these people, because I didn't actually work for them. This is weird. So it was like, I don't know if it was an illegal charter or if it was a legitimate charter. I mean, they said they were a legitimate charter, but I was just too naive to verify all the, like, I was on the please can I have a job side and not a you need to hire me because I'm really good side, right?
Now, just to be clear here, there's an illegal charter. There are obviously legal charters. These are all dictated by the Federal Aviation Regulations. The charter section of that is 135, right?
Yeah, per 135. So the difference between 135 and 121 when it comes to like a plane flying is the 121 is a scheduled air carrier service where there's a published flight at a published time going from this place to that place, and you just get a ticket on it. If the customer dictates any part of the where, when, how many people, what type of airplane, then it becomes a charter under 135.
And then there's the illegal charters, which we all call in the business the 134.5s, right?
Correct. And I'm pretty sure that's what this was. But
sounds like it.
Also heard a rumor that they might have been tied to the mafia. So I'm not gonna.
We're not going to name them?
Yeah,
are we going to not name them then?
No, we are not naming. And no, I wish we could shame them. But
okay.
Maybe our listeners can find out on their own by using the old Google. Turns out what they were doing to me was something they did to an unsuspecting pilot almost every year.
And what was that thing?
Years later, I'm on some forum somewhere, and somebody mentioned that they got duped. And I read into their story, and I went, that's my story.
Yeah. That sounds, so that's a pattern. That's a pattern of behavior.
Yeah, so what happens is the busiest week of travel for that airplane in that group of aircraft owners, they quote unquote hire somebody, right, and they give them the OJT story on the job training, and then basically you fly their busiest week of the year under the guise of like an interview, and that they have no intention of keeping you because the plane goes back to flying once a month after that for the rest of the year.
So you're just getting free labor for that 1 week.
Free labor for the 8 or 10 flights I flew for them in the 7 days or 10, whatever it was, 10 days.
And what was it? Can I ask, what was this airplane and were you familiar with it?
I was, not familiar with the specific type. I don't know if giving up the exact type would be TMI
That's
here.
but the question I asked this because jumping in one airplane to the next is not 100% like jumping in any car or truck. There are nuances to each airplane that you have to learn in order to not crash.
There are. So, um, it was a piston twin engine
Okay.
cabin class aircraft.
All right. All right. So you were familiar enough and you were not flying single pilot. You were just
Oh,
there.
no, I was well, so some of it I was single pilot for, and some of it I had a, like, I don't know, company representative in the co-pilot seat. I mean, you know how to start a piston engine, you do it, and then you know how to load up a Garmin, you do it, and then you take and the flying was super cool because it was like ocean it was along the ocean of the US, and so I mean, even if you just asked me to do it recreationally, I would do that in a heartbeat, right? Looking like, but as thinking I had a job lined up, it was a real gut
Yeah,
punch,
that's
right?
very exciting to think.
Oh, well, yeah. Looking back, I hope no, but I hope the internet has helped keep people because this was like 2009, 2010 ish, somewhere back then. Like we
Mhm.
weren't super involved in smartphones and Reddit and things. So hopefully they can't get away with that kind of stuff anymore, and they have to actually pay their pilots.
It's been my experience have been browsing the Reddit and some other forums, and there are a lot of young, up and coming wannabe pilots that are asking, "Hey, I got." It sounds a lot like the thing that you're describing. Should I do this? And they're asking for advice, and people are getting stay clear away from these people. So
Yep.
it's gotten better.
Good. I'm glad. I'm hoping that nobody else has to go through that without. I mean, eh, if you have a ton of money and you want to do this like volunteer gig, do it. But don't take advantage of someone who's trying to build their career and pay the bills for their family. Like I'd hope they're smarter than to do that to somebody who thinks they're going to pay their mortgage with this job that doesn't exist.
So what happened? You did these flights?
Yep. And after the busiest week of the year wrapped up, and I came back and I said, "Oh, hey, when's the next one?" Right as I'm leaving the hangar to head back home. Hey, about that.
It's not
We
going to work
really
out, huh?
appreciate everything that you're a great pilot, but the same gaslighting BS, right? But we don't think we're gonna need you anymore. So yeah,
Oh,
well,
that's a shame.
best of luck, and I was like, okay, all right.
That's too bad.
I
I'm
was
very
actually
sorry for your loss.
it's okay.
Actually, I'm not. You dodged one there. You don't wanna work
I
for those
did.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, no. Hey, you know what? I'm MC Howe.
Hey, co-captain Richard Million here.
Keep forgetting that part.
No, it's okay.
That's okay.
You're the captain of this program.
Oh, I'm
You
the
do the legwork.
co-captain. I don't know about
Yeah.
that, but this is Cats on Guard. This is the podcast where we're opening up the flight deck door, sharing secrets that, oh my gosh, stuff like this, like the worst employers we've ever had. And boy, do we have some stories today. You're reminding me of a place I worked. It was my first non instructing job. And I found out about this from a kid who was a student at our flight school where I worked. He came into me one day and he says, "You heard about this place over here on the other side of the field, and they're flying these Islanders. You know what an Islander is?
The Brit Norman
The Britain Norman Islander." On the last podcast, we talked about the shorts
flying tissue box.
flying tissue box. So the Islander is a very similar style of aircraft, a little smaller. Described by some as a 172 with two engines, but a lot uglier. And it looks beat up. Like it looks like it came out of the factory beat up. Anyway, this place was flying these things. You're a flight instructor. You don't have a whole lot of experience beyond flying around in the pattern a little bit at your local airport. So I ran over there to this guy and he's like, "Yeah, we'll give you a job here, but we got to ensure that you're not going to leave. We want you to stay for a year." I told you this guy.
Oh,
I told you about this
yeah,
guy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he says, "Yeah, okay. But what if I don't stay for a year?" He goes, "Well, obviously we can't make you stay. They didn't make me sign anything. No money was exchanged." He says, "We'll just make your life miserable." Okay. So I start training with these people, and training in these jobs is sit in the right seat while somebody else is flying a trip and just observe. They'll teach you how to fly. Did a couple of trips where they were actually training flights. and, it was pretty good flying to the islands, the Bahamas. Uh, a lot of cargo for these airplanes and some passenger work. We would pull the seats in and out, you know, gotta make room for boxes, you pull the seats out. You gotta make room for people, you put the seats back in. We had a group of ladies. Oh, you're gonna love this. We called them the bag ladies. We'd go pick them up in the Bahamas, like Freeport or one of
The
those islands.
bag,
The
BAG.
bag ladies. This was their nickname. We'd pick up the bag ladies in like Freeport or someplace, bring them over to Fort Lauderdale. They would get a car, go up to Walmart, buy things like straw hats, coconuts, flowered shirts, and load up the Islander with all this stuff, fly back over there and sell all this stuff to the tourists.
Oh, it's like Bahama local things, and it
Yeah.
wasn't. It was just
Oh,
Walmart
yeah.
garbage. Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
So
That's
the
hilarious because they
that
probably had so much money in profit that it didn't matter as they
yeah.
flew there. Oh
Yeah.
my. Oh,
Well, that was the kind of people that we were picking up and, taking places. And so I'm doing these training flights with these guys, and they had Islanders. They also had what, 421s, I
yeah,
think?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The insurance said I didn't have enough flight time to operate the 421, but
But the Islander was okay. I feel
mhm.
like the 421 would be
Yeah, because
easier
if an
to.
Islander goes down, nobody's gonna miss it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Incidentally incidentally, a lot of those islands over there are no instrument approaches. The way that
Mhm.
you find the runway is that you look in the water, the shallow water at the airplanes that didn't make it,
Yes,
and they all kinda line you up for the runway, so
to find the trail of wrecks.
yeah, yeah. So,
But can't you
and
fly around at like 50 feet out there and nobody cares?
you can fly you go out over the ocean, you can fly around at 1 foot.
Well, yeah,
There's no
but
rule.
yeah, but the 1 foot is like the wave. I don't,
The
one
do
wave
the
away from.
the dolphins leaping, having
Yes,
fun. Yeah.
having a dolphin strike on your
Right.
propeller.
Can you
It
imagine?
wasn't a bird strike, but you hit a dolphin. That'd be a heck of an FAA report, wouldn't
Is that a different, inspection? Probably.
it? Can you imagine the dent on the wingtip from like scripting a dolphin though? Oh my gosh.
I won't say I've never seen that happen up close.
Oh,
Uh, so I did a trip once on a 421 where, it was just training, like, this is how the operation works. You're not gonna fly this airplane, but you can see how the operation works. And we're going over to pick some people up on one of these islands, and there's 10 seats in that airplane. We were going to pick up 8 people. So you got the pilot, you got me, and then you got 8 empty seats. And we get over there, 9 passengers show up.
oh,
Mhm.
who's getting on the wing?
No, nobody's getting on the wing. I'm getting off the airplane, and it's like, "Sorry, we, guess we screwed up. Hopefully, we'll have another flight coming by later to pick you up."
So you just got left there on an island?
Yeah, I'm like,
Literally.
hopefully you'll have another."
Are
I
you an
mean,
employee there at this point?
I was always a contract employee.
Okay.
Oh, no, I wasn't even getting paid yet. You're right. I didn't get paid until I passed my check ride. I started doing my own flights.
So you were just a dude that was eventually gonna maybe work there, maybe, and
Yeah,
we're just gonna leave you here and we'll find a way to pick you up, maybe.
this should have been the day that I really thought about that.
Oh boy.
I didn't because, it just this is not instructing. This is great. Yeah, so they
See,
just left me.
the last place I ever had like contractor pay where you're like an employee, but you're not really an employee here for like their financial purposes was flight instructing.
Yeah,
And then
well
everything after that was like actually working for somebody, right? Like,
well, that's the thing. When you're starting out in this gig, you will do anything to get a little flight time in your logbook. And if it's
yeah.
multi-engine, oh boy. Multi-engine
Yep.
cross country, oh boy. I get to pull out my passport. Ah. So,
I
uh,
know. I have a friend who just got to that milestone, and I've been, I don't say mentoring. He doesn't need mentorship, but I've been keeping in touch with him over the years, and he had a few hundred hours of general aviation time, and was like, "I'm going to make a career out of this." And, well, you got to get to 1,500 hours, right? So he CFI, CFI, CFI. I'm sick of going around the traffic pattern in a Cessna with people. Like for I think it takes about 12 hours to fly 6 hours a day. Like you have to
that
spend
sounds
12
right.
hours at the airport. So he found this, and you said people will do anything, right? He found this night, literally fly by night operation where they pick up medical materials from rural areas where they don't have like radioactive labs and blood
Oh,
scanners and stuff. And he would
okay.
pick up like when you get blood tests, right? They send them to a lab at night, and then you get your
Mhm.
results in the morning. But if you live in like the middle of nowhere, you don't have that. So they have this network of airplanes that goes out at 11 at night and makes a couple of stops picking up CAT scan sample, I don't know, whatever scan samples is, some radioactive, some blood, some this, some all this, and then bringing it back to the hub so that it can get all scanned. And then you go to sleep in the morning. Like you work from
Sure. You're
like
working the
10
night
p.m. He
shift.
left his house and but it was multi-engine time and it was like legitimate IFR. So he was
It's
like
like
a
the
real
holy
solid,
grail.
yeah, solid experience to bring to your airline interview.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, and the truth behind that too is it is valued more when you're not just you're pretty run of the mill if you fly a Cessna as a flight instructor for your entire career versus having something outside of that.
Well, let me tell you something. You bring up your radioactive flying
Yeah,
friend.
yeah.
So while I was working for this place, got a call one day from the boss, and he said, "Yeah, you're a current CFI. You've been instructing recently." I said, "Yeah, yeah, I'm still current." He goes, "All right, my friend Harold over there on the other side of the field, he needs his biennial flight review, so he's got a trip over to Freeport today. You just go sit with him and sign him off for his review." I
It
was like,
doesn't sound
"Well,
like you're doing your job.
no, that's not exactly how that works. There's certain standards I have to follow to do this. You got to give them an
Like an
oral
hour of
exam.
ground, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You got to give them an oral exam, and you got to, do certain maneuvers, and so whatever. You just charge him whatever you want. He'll pay it. So I go over there and I go to Harold. I said, "Listen, I understand you're due for. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're just gonna sit next to me. It's okay. You're good." Well, yeah, Harold doesn't really work. Yeah, no, no. Just sit. I'll pay you what you want. What do you want? Just like, how do I what do I do here? So it's like, all right, well, what if I give him an oral exam while we're flying over there? I'll ask him some
So you feel
questions
lightly validated that you've
and
done your
and
duty as a flight.
I'll ask him to do some steep turns along the way in a stall and
He's just gonna
maybe
look at you and laugh. This is how this sounds like it's gonna go.
so that's kind of how it went.
Okay.
And I signed him off. A few
Oh,
years Listen to this now. A few years go by. I'm working for the airlines. And back in those days, newspapers existed. I don't know if you remember them.
oh, very funny. I had a subscription to the New York Post, mind you.
I would go into the terminal and scrounge up a newspaper if I could find one anywhere and get me through my day, especially if I had a, less than chatty Kathy sitting next to me. So I'm in my local hometown and I find the local newspaper, and I'm flipping through it and I see this headline: "Local pilot arrested for hauling hazardous nuclear waste uh, between South Florida and the Bahamas." And I'm like,
Oh boy.
"Oh my god!" So I open it
Nuclear
up.
waste?
First thing I see is Harold's name. Oh, sweet
No way.
Jesus!
You're like, oh, your name's in that guy's logbook.
Well,
Uh-oh.
yeah. Not only is my name in his logbook, but I'm like, when did he do that? And it gives the dates of when he was alleged to have done this, and I missed it by 1 month.
Good for you. Hey, folks at home, maybe you didn't quite get the whole your name's in his logbook thing. That just kind of tripped a little light bulb in my head. So when instructors certify or recertify you for things, and then later you go have like an accident or you do something illegal, the FAA like looks back and sees who did your training and when and why, and then they go calling around going, what did you do? What
Yeah.
did you do to make this guy think it was okay to vote? And it's always somebody else's fault, right? There's a lot of finger pointing going on. So whenever somebody, as an instructor, whenever you sign your name in their book, you're a little like, oh, I wonder. You got to do like a character assessment and be like, is this person going to do something illegal once I give them a signature? Um, I signed one person off, and everything seemed fine. They got their license, life went on, and then I found out later on at a barbecue after a few beers that that person was buzzing like the boats over the ocean on their solo flight.
I don't think that's allowed.
I mean, is it not though? It's over the ocean, but as long as so I looked, I said, "Yes, you kept the minimum separation requirements by law from persons or property." And he went, "Yes, I did." And I was like,
1,000
"Good."
feet, 1,000 feet over unpopulated areas or
Yeah, the ocean,
sparse,
2,000
sparse.
across or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know. It,
The
whatever the
ocean
ocean
is very
claims. Yeah.
sparsely populated.
We hope for now until we
Yeah.
populate that somehow.
Well. Well, nobody called me over
Good.
Harold.
Oh, really? No,
Yeah,
nobody got back
no,
to you. That's
no,
awesome.
no.
That's
It
because
was
that could have been
several
a
years
nightmare.
after the fact, for one thing.
Oh, okay, okay.
Um, but yeah, just working for this. That's the kind of place you work at. And this was a legit 135. It wasn't a 134. Harold may have been a 134 and a half. I will grant that that's a possibility. But this place I worked, it was just like, it was stuff like those are the people I hung out with, you know.
Yeah. Well, so I heard South Florida or Southeast Florida is like a hotbed for aviation
Oh,
mishap, mismanaged. I don't know how do we
well,
word this.
there's so much opportunity for it because there's an airport on every corner, kind of like gas stations and golf courses. You can't go 30 feet without running into somebody
Yeah,
who's flying something.
flying something, but for somebody who doesn't want to pay for legitimate service. So they have this
Yeah,
backhanded version of the service for cheaper because somebody approached them in an alleyway and said, "Hey, I can get your Gulfstream for way less, and I can get you flying it for half the price." And you go,
right.
"Okay, cool." And then they're like, "Hey, take my friends to here on Tuesday," and that's where it became a
That's where it
charter.
becomes a thing. Yeah, but then also, it's like there's so many out there that legitimate people end up with, you know, the mob carriers and whatnot, and they don't have any clue. And this place was not, in my opinion, a mob carrier. But I remember one time I was still in training, and they called me up one day. "So, we got a trip for you tomorrow. You're gonna fly with Wendell. We got some models to drop off for a photo shoot." "Oh, cool.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna take these models to Governor's Harbor, one of those islands." So I show up and I say, "Hey, Wendell, I guess we're going to Governor's Harbor with some models." "No, no, no, we're not going to Governor's Harbor. We're going to north of Lutheran." Okay, that's just another island out there, right? So we fly these models over, we drop them off at north of Lutheran, we come back, and we pull into that hangar, and they are screaming, they are hopping up and down, mad at us. "What the hell is wrong with you guys? You dropped these models off on the wrong island. Now they're stuck there." "Oh, where was it supposed to be?" "Governor's Harbor." "Oops."
Who didn't
I
listen to you?
Wendell,
Why?
the captain, because
What?
I was the nobody.
That sounds like a CRM issue.
I don't know if CRM existed in this world.
Captain rules machine. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
And he was the captain.
yeah, and, you know, you're still all of us are very young, just trying to build your time, trying to
Yeah, you
figure
just
out the
you're a
rules
yes
as you
man.
go. Yeah,
Are you a yes man? Like I've done some questionable things that I would not do 10 years later because I was the new
100%,
guy. They
100%.
know who they can get away with that stuff for 'em.
Yeah, yeah.
I think my initial pay when I was starting out as an instructor was 1,000 US dollars per month, period.
$1,000 per month. I probably made less than that when I was instructing.
Don't belittle my story.
Well, was that like a salary?
It was a
No matter
contracted
what you do,
monthly
you're getting $1,000.
for the month.
Okay.
Okay, you know what? I'll sweeten the deal.
I'm gonna belittle you because I'm going back further in time, all right? I made $8 an hour for ground instruction, $10 for flight,
Was that
12 if it was multi.
was that the 1960s or was that the
Almost.
50s? I'm trying here. I'm trying.
Thank you so much.
Oh, that's funny.
Thank you.
Busting your butt. All right. So this $1,000 a month came with free housing. It wasn't really a house.
Oh,
Yeah, I know,
come
right?
on.
It was cool. It was good while it lasted. It was one of the rooms in a three-bedroom apartment where they had the students paying for the apartments, the condos, like out of their tuition. And then there was like a supervisor's room, which it was like whoever the local instructor was assigned to your condo. But they couldn't be your students. So like there was a lot of students, a lot of people coming in from all over the country. So it was kind of cool. Like your students were in the building across the parking lot from you, and the instructor in that unit was probably had students that you were living with.
Interesting.
Yeah, but like you had a little more like you had to make sure the apartment was kept and that the people were behaving themselves and report back if they weren't. So you were kind of a hall monitor, right?
How old were these kids?
So everyone was older than me because I was at that flight school as soon as I turned 18,
So
which
these
was
are
the minimum
adults.
age. These were so there were some like there were people with kids older than me, and then there were people that were in their 20s just out of college, and there was one other 18-year-old was there. We still keep in touch to this day.
I don't
Pretty
understand
cool.
this. You had to take. monitor these like they were toddlers?
Well, they had an option, right? Like you could come to school. It was like a very fast-paced training where you were at the airport 7 days a week, like 14 hours a day. You were doing airplane stuff. If you weren't studying, you were doing sim work. If you weren't doing sim work, you were doing flight. If you were doing flight, you were doing oral prep, or you were doing oral prep. You were doing written prep. You were constantly consumed 7 days a week, except for holidays.
Interesting.
It was really cool because I was able to get out of high school and knock out like all my training, in 3 months instead of 4 years, like a college degree version. But anyway, they, I'll say that the way I got it done was very convenient for me. The way that the instructors were, I don't know, you didn't know because you were, like you said, you were scrapping to get your career resume numbers up. So you really didn't care how you were treated. You weren't there to be like, treat me like a good employee, like a good employer should treat their employee. You were just like, give me some hours and give me some things to do, and I want hours and I need to leave.
All right, now you're 18. Do that now as a middle-aged man. How
Not
you
a
gonna
chance in hell.
Uh-huh, right.
There was
Exactly.
a guy there that was, I still keep in touch with him too. He's like, I got kids your age. And I'm like, look, I'm just here to teach you, man. Like,
Yeah.
this is my job to do. You don't have to listen to me if you don't want to, but you paid for this.
That's wild that that exists and that these grown-up people are putting up with that. There's like, "Yeah, this is okay. This is part of the deal. Okay, sure."
Well, I mean, honestly, the included housing versus like, I don't know, $140 for a residence in per night for 90 days is a lot of money. And you're like, yeah, I'll sleep in a bedroom and share an apartment with some random people. I mean, that's like the crash pad environment you get when you commute at an airline.
That's right.
So you
Yeah,
just learn to do that when you're a CFI or a commercial pilot student.
I guess you're right. Okay, well,
It did get a little. There was making a whole episode about that flight school dorm room drama. We should do that. Let's do another episode about all the crazy crap that
let's do it
happened.
right now. Just forget the rest. Forget everything else we just said.
Now we're not talking about employers anymore. Now we're talking about drama. No, just kidding. Okay, so I won't rip on that anymore. It's a plus minus. Like some of it sucked, some of it was good, but where I taught, it, they set it up in their favor for sure. Never for never convenient for the employee.
Yeah, it sounds like your place was a much bigger kind of a deal. I don't know,
Yeah,
just from having a setup like that, where mine was more of a mom and pop kind of a shop.
and I
Yeah.
wonder if I'd have gotten. I don't think you can do it in 3 months at a mom and pop shop. Is that
What did you do in 3 months? What happened in 3 months?
um my multi-engine, my instrument, my commercial, my CFI, my double I, my MEI, and 100 hours of multi-time.
That's pretty quick. I did all of that in 6 months.
Okay,
7.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like about as hard as you can go at a mom and pop
Yeah,
shop.
but not working. I didn't
Yes.
work.
Yeah.
I was flying twice a day and, ground school in between. So, yeah, 6 days a week, so 5 days a week. Mhm. What's the matter with you?
I have a torn rotator cuff.
Oh, no.
I have to exercise it every so often. It's starting to irritate me.
Have you
Sorry.
seen a,
I'm
that's
listening.
good. Okay. No, I'm captivated by your body
Oh, well, thank you.
there. Sure.
That's another episode.
Uh-huh.
Self-restraint at work. Hold on. I was talking about how little that was paid back in 2007 or whatever. Um, the regional airlines have made massive jumps in pay, quality of life,
They sure have.
signing bonuses. In last episode, we talked about these hundred
Mhm.
thousand dollar signing bonuses if you can come in and be a captain for them.
Just to rehash that, now 20 years ago, 25 years ago when I started doing this, I would talk to pilots in the industry. They said, "Oh, you're in such a great position. There's gonna be a pilot shortage and it's coming." And I heard about that for 20 years. Guess what? 20 years went by, it happened. There was a pilot shortage as widely portrayed in the media. Now, was there really a pilot shortage? I don't think so. I think what there was a shortage of pay, and there was a shortage of people willing to work for that low pay. Not
Yes.
like you and I who were willing to do it for all those years, because those regional airlines, when we got started, I made, I don't know, 15, $18 an hour to start
Yeah, and
to
that
fly
was
a
for a
jet.
75-hour work month, not 40-hour work week.
That's right.
So it's
So
actually effectively half of what the average worker was seeing per week. The $18 an hour of flight pay as a pilot is the same as getting $9 an hour at a 40-hour a week job.
yeah. So and the way that you can figure out how much a pilot makes, you take their hourly rate Add a
N-
add 2 zeros in 3 zeros on the end,
3 zeros, make it the
make
thousands. Essentially,
make
that's
the
how.
thousands.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was making 18 grand flying,
Yep.
50-seat
And I
jet
thought I
around.
hit the jackpot when I got on with the place that was paying 24 grand a year.
Yeah. So
I was
what
like,
happened?
yes.
All these giant pay raises all of a sudden. How did they finally solve the pilot crisis? Oh, money. Let's
Oh,
throw money at the
like
problem.
you want
That
people to be
worked.
able to pay their mortgage and stuff? Wow, what a concept.
Or just willing to come to work for you.
That's
Because
true.
plenty of people just don't want to do it. They see that'd be a fun job. I'd love to fly. I can't live on those wages.
Yep.
So they don't do it
There was a huge disparity between the bottom and the top. And now you basically closed the gap and brought
I
the
know.
bottom up. The top never changed.
Now that I'm at the top, I don't like having the bottom so close. Can we go
Look
back?
at you just turning it back around. You were one of them once. Don't you leave
Oh,
that. Yeah.
now I have to sit next to them too.
Oh, those peasants.
Yeah. Oh well.
Isn't that nice? Yeah, I don't understand the disparity between like here you're going to live in poverty wages until we tell you. It's very old school. You're like
Yeah,
you're
but the
gonna the
pilots
beatings will
negotiate
continue.
this.
No,
The
but
unions all negotiated that all those years. It's on them as much as anyone else.
it is. But those unions, they could end the cycle of perpetuity with well, I had to do it the hard way, uphill both ways in the snow, and so do you. We don't have to. We can just be like, hey, it was really hard for me, and I wouldn't want to impose that shit on anybody. So
Listen,
hey,
you're married to a physician. I presume she went to medical school.
they have the same
Yeah,
same problem there.
I know it.
Well, my residency was nightmare, and so yours has to be too.
And I'll bet hers was too, wasn't it?
It absolutely. Yeah, I lived it. I had to drive all her crap back and forth in the middle of the night. She keeps forgetting things in the house. My stethoscope's in the bag by the bed. Can you bring it? It's 2 in the morning.
Yeah. So you think that she would do it the same or change it?
So that's been a topic that we've been promising that we would advocate for the organization that advocates for not abusing the new people. And she just opened up her own practice. She's
Yeah.
her own boss now, and so hopefully,
Congratulations.
yeah, it's really cool to have the mother of my children running a business and doing it her own way. And anyway, she once things settle down with getting that all up and running, we'll hopefully be able to advocate for the things that she believes in, which is not abusing people because I got abused.
Well, somebody must have done that on the pilot group too, because now those regional pilots are getting paid a heck of a lot more than you and I ever did.
They have quality of life and duty times. So, like that 117 duty regulations give them a lot of the same protections that the big guys have. In the past, it didn't matter.
Well, to be fair, we all lived under those same rules, but there was always a wide variety of, there's a minimum required rest, and then there's what your union negotiates as the contractual minimum, which was usually a
Yeah.
lot more. Those regional guys were like, we're going right down to the minimum. We're going to work a 16-hour day and then give you 8 hours rest. And
Of that eight, six were spent in a hotel room, five of which is sleep. And you did that 5 consecutive days. Also, the way the system's built makes the regional airline industry abusive. Like because of the hub and spoke method. Like if you like say American Airlines has their 9 a.m. flight from a hub to a big spot, so they're going to go like I don't know, Chicago to Orlando, right? That's their big flight. Well, all those little and that needs to go at 9 a.m., 9 or 10 a.m., right? The morning flight.
sure.
There's like 8 or 10 regional flights that go out from the spokes at 5 a.m. to make
Yeah.
sure you get there for that 9 a.m. flight because the people in Appleton, Wisconsin, and Peoria, Illinois, and Columbus, Ohio need to get to the hub to get through the terminal to their big flight to connect so they can get to Orlando. You can I don't think you can go from Peoria, Illinois to Orlando. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. But anyway, because those little planes, those feeder routes, if you will, I'm talking cargo now, but anyway, those little routes that bring you to the big hub to get on the big plane full of people, those pilots need to be there 8 hours before the big plane takes off from the big guys.
For sure.
So that means for a 5 a.m. What is it? Let's put backwards math again. Here we go. 6 a.m. flight on the regional out of Peoria to get you to Chicago. That 6 a.m. flight's got they got a show at the gate 45 prior. That's 5:15. That means they're in the shuttle, or they're at security at 5. They're in the shuttle at 4:45, which means they're waking up in their hotel room at 3:30 ish.
That's a nice stay, isn't it?
3:30 in the morning to go take people at 5 a.m. to.
And how many times a day are they gonna do that?
So that's what I'm wondering with the
You're
duty
starting
rooms.
at 5 a.m.,
Yeah,
and if you can go to 16 hours back in the olden days, that's math.
yeah,
That's
that's a
9.
lot.
That's
They used to
9.
have those. Remember
That's
stand up
9.
overnights?
Mhm. Yeah. Oh,
Those were
yeah.
fun.
Stand up overnight. When I was a flight attendant, you know what they were called? This was the actual official name for them, illegals.
Officially,
That was the official name for it. Yeah,
that's
it's called,
wild.
and what is one? What is an illegal? It is where, so you have a duty time, you start your day, you end your day. All the time in between is your duty day. And what was required was when you end your day, you get a minimum amount of rest, be it 8 hours or whatever. So they would craft these trips that would start late at night. You would do usually one leg to somewhere. Then you would get like 4 hours in a hotel, which is not the 8 required. And then
No, it's within the duty day. They just did the favor of providing you a bed to sleep in.
so basically what they're doing, they're giving you bed in the middle of your duty day. It's not considered an actual layover or rest. Uh, but yeah, most of them call them stand-up overnights. So you'd fly one leg, you get your 4 hours in a hotel, and then you come back and fly again very early. So
I don't mind those. I don't
some
as a
people love them,
because I was
especially
a cargo pilot. There was no such thing as acknowledging safe duty in the version of cargo that I flew. It was just, hey, we started you at this clock hour, and that means we can use you until that clock hour. It didn't matter if there was two legs or one leg or seven legs. You just
and
flew, 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 flew.
they usually paid a little more. There was some sort of incentive to get you to do it, and moms would love them. They would put their kids to bed, go fly this illegal, and then be home in time to get their kids off to school.
How cool!
Yeah, is it
As
though?
long as there was another person at the house, to make sure in case the flight was delayed or mechanical or something. Yeah.
You hope. Yeah.
Oh boy. Well,
Oh,
I don't wouldn't say that was. I think pretty much every regional did it. Like it spread like
yes.
wildfire.
Yes.
So it wasn't a particular employer. It was just the industry that abused duty
Industry
days like that.
standard. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, that's what do you call it? Normalization of deviance. Like it's a bad thing, but it happens to
Mhm.
everybody, so we're just okay with it.
So here's the question. 117 came along. They changed all the regulations of how we do this. Are those things still a thing?
I think they are,
They
or
don't do
they're
them where I
scheduled
live.
differently.
I
They've
don't
got to be
know.
scheduled differently to make because if you operate. So here's the thing, and like if you operate between the hours of 4 a.m. and or something like that, like operate doesn't mean. I'm not saying to make it any more strict. It's pretty good as it is. But like when they say if you're operating past 1 a.m. or before 5 a.m., like operating at 5 a.m. start, because here's what the scheduling does. Oh, if the rule says 5 a.m., we just make the departure 5:01. The 5:01 departure, but you're still up at the hotel at 2:30 in the morning to get ready for your 3:30 van, to be at the airport at 4, to be at the gate at 4:15 for your 5:01 departure.
But totally legal now. That 1 minute makes it totally legal. Yeah. Hey, we're getting off track here. We're getting off track here. We're
No,
complaining
no,
about a lot of,
these are worst employers. These
well,
are
these aren't
companies that
specific.
did this
We need
to
to be
people.
complaining about specific employers.
Oh, I don't want to do that because in this industry, okay, folks at home, in this industry, try your best not to burn bridges. It is such a small world.
Oh, it
I mean,
is.
I'm sure majority of the listeners at home already knew who I worked for and when and why because of the words I used to describe them.
Yeah, I got to do a lot of special editing on your part too, by the way, as a result
Did
of that. So
did I give up a bunch of stuff?
you have, you
Oh
have.
no. What did I
That's
say?
okay. No, I'm not going to
Okay.
say it now because
All
then
right.
I'll have to edit it out again.
Well, we got to go a little bit over the episode time to allow for that cutting it out.
That's it. So,
I love
all
your
right.
editing tool too. That little music
Uh,
that comes out when you clip something. Oh boy, that means I screwed up.
all right. So I'm going to tell you a story about a place I worked when I was at the regional airline. I was, I'd been about 3 years in there, and back in my day, that was about as long as you ever wanted to go. Some people do it for their whole life, their whole career, 20, 30 years at a regional airline. I don't know how anybody survives that. But I was 3 years, I was ready, and I was based in a city where there was another major airline that I wanted to work for. They were doing, some every Saturday, they were having, like, an open house. "Come tour our facility, meet with a recruiter, we'll give you a job." So I'm like, "This is cool, man." So I get out there one day, and, I I I was commuting, so it wasn't easy to do it. I had to work at a day when I had a trip, 'cause I didn't feel like, which was stupid. I should have just done it on my day, any day off, just done it. But I was cheap, so I was trying to save money, commuting,
Of
whatever.
course.
So I have, it's a Saturday afternoon. I've got like a 1 p.m. showtime. This open house starts at like 9, 8, 9 o'clock. So I get myself up there early. I go to this open house and it was pretty impressive. I got to say, I really enjoyed it. I toured the facilities. I met a couple of people that I knew that had gotten jobs there. They were really, you know, hyping it up. And then the time kept ticking, and it's getting close enough to where I have to make a decision. Do I want to go uh, continue on with this thing, or I got to get to work, you know? But I hadn't talked to a recruiter yet. And the whole point of this was kind of, if you don't talk to a recruiter, then why am I here?
Yep.
So I had to make a decision. And it got down to a matter of time. And I said, well, I guess I'm going to call out late. Not not sick, but late. It's like, "Oh," I said, I called Chris Gedge, I said, "Listen, I'm stuck in traffic here, and I'm gonna miss the first round trip of this 4-day, but I'll pick it up when it gets back into base." And I didn't lie because I was in, long lines to talk to these recruiters, so there was a lot of
You're
traffic.
stuck in
It
traffic.
was.
You
So
sly devil.
so I did it. And then I get back and I finished the trip, 4 days go by, and I'm getting off the plane, getting ready to head home, and I am met by the assistant to the chief pilot. He says, "We need you to come and talk to us here. So we know that you went to this job fair and that you lied and you abused a sick call and you're in big trouble, mister." I said, "Well, I didn't call
Really?
out. Yes, I didn't call out sick. I didn't lie. I said, well, we know anyway, you were there and we got a list of all the pilots that were there and we know you were." Like, "Yeah, okay, I was there. Yeah." So I ended up getting suspended for this abuse of privileges, I guess, and sent for a oh, this is funny. I'm sitting there in the guy's office. He's reading me the riot act, and he says, "Oh my goodness, my fax machine just came to life. Your name just came up for a random drug test." Oh, really? Random? Was it? So I go take my drug test. I come back, and there is
You know what you should have said? Be like, "Oh no, you got me." Ha! Just like
yeah, it was pretty obvious how my
I'm high
career
as a
was going
kite
at
right
this
now.
point, right? Yeah.
Ah.
I don't know how that would have ended up down the line, but
But you could say it. They could test you all you want, and you'd be clean.
yeah. Well, and
It's
I
more like an
was.
empty threat.
I was. Anyway, I missed my flight home, and there was one last flight of the day, and I go down there, and there's a couple other pilots from another airline working there, so I got to talking to those guys, and we just exchanged some emails, and on about our days we went. Well, the next day, I got a, I'm quite certain I'm about to be fired from my job. So I go over to the old flight school where I used to work, and I said, "This is about to happen to me. What can I do?" Like, "Well, we're hiring. We've got our charter operation right here, and we need you today, tomorrow." I'm like, "Okay, done." So small. Would you say small aviation
Small.
world?
It's a small world.
Yeah.
So you
So
found you knew you were on your way out of one, and somehow walked into this next one already.
absolutely, yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah. But what was funny is I had done years before when I was a flight instructor. They wanted me to fly their charter, and I went through the whole ground school operation of it.
You
It
had previously talked to these people.
Oh, yeah, because I worked for them as a flight instructor before.
Yeah, but now you have some experience and they're desperate or
Right.
they appear to be.
But better than that is I had already done the ground school portion of the training. I was already on the books
So
for it.
you would have saved them a ton of work in the oh boy, you can get right
So
going.
but here's the problem. The reason that I didn't ever work for them in the past, because once I got out of that ground school, they said, "Okay, now how would you feel about paying several $1,000s to learn how to fly our jet?" Um,
Oh, they want you to training contract or they want you to
yeah,
pay for your training?
yeah, wanted me to pay for it. I said, "No, I don't have any money. You've been paying my salary for the last 2
You
years. You know
should
how
know
much
how
money
much.
I have."
That's
So
hilarious.
so, but I don't have to do the ground school now, and they're like just like, "Okay, well, you go fly with Robert. He's got a trip tomorrow, and then when you just sit in the right seat with Robert. When you come back, we'll do your check ride." Wait, what? So, doing a check ride with this guy is like, who is the chief pilot. He owns the company. He's like, he does all the flying and all the talking, and then at the end of it, you pass your check ride.
Oh, so this is just here, Cracker Jack box certificate, go work.
Kind of.
Was it safe?
Yes, it was safe. These people were safe. It was a good company to work for, kind of. Um, the problem was as the summer went on, and I'm still waiting to get fired from my previous job.
Oh,
That's
that's
still
hilarious.
that's still hanging over me. Um, yeah, and I had to go up and do the carpet dance with those guys about what happened, and they ended up firing me. So
How did the firing process go? I've been
this is how it
attempted to
went.
been fired, and I've fought my way back out of getting fired a few times. So
This is
tell
how
me
it
how
went.
your firing
This is
goes.
how it went for me because I was such a villain in this story for abusing a sick call. Oh my god. Like, I was obviously the first person that's ever called out sick for any reason.
To try and get out of the crap hole that you're working at, to try and get
Right.
something better for yourself? Oh, I never heard of that
S
before.
It was so bad, and the union was they didn't want anything to do with me. They didn't wanna touch me.
Hmm.
And when I get up there to do the carpet dance, I had to fly across the country for this, and they would not release the union rep who I'm entitled to have per my contract. I'm entitled to have representation at this meeting. They wouldn't They wouldn't allow it. "All these guys are too busy flying. We can't have them here for this." I'm like, "Well, you guys are totally violating my contract." "Doesn't matter. Results the same. Fired."
Oh
So,
boy.
I walked out of there like, "Oh my god," And, so I'm like, I knew that they totally, you know, hosed me over there, so I ended up hiring my own lawyer. He starts working on this thing. Meanwhile, I get a call from the place that I called out sick to go and to that open
Yeah,
house.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, I just got fired now. How do I explain this in my interview?" You know?
Ooh, yeah. The
Yeah,
place you
so I
actually wanted to go, yeah.
right, and then that was just hanging over me, so that didn't go well. They didn't want anything to do with me. But you know what was going well is flying these islands for this charter operator that offered me that job. Now, I did kinda have to learn how to fly the plane on my own since my check ride and training were very abbreviated. But I did that. And as the summer wore on, I was really enjoying it. You're flying around, it's day, it's VFR. I'm home every night for dinner. I don't have to deal with airport security, airline parking, any of this jazz. These people are tipping me $100 cash every day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It was like, maybe I don't want to give this up?
Yeah.
But then, now this was all happening 2007, 2008. The economy crashed. And I noticed my flights were starting to dry up. So I went in and I told you about this on the last podcast. I asked the lady for a raise. I said, I need a salary because I'm not making any money here. I said, I'll give you 40 hours. She had always wanted me to go back to instructing. I said, I don't want to instruct. I said, I'll give you 40 hours a week in any capacity, instructing, flying the charter. I'll sit at the front desk. I don't care. She said, no. All right. Well, the next day, I'm out on a trip. I meet some guys at a competing operator flying the same airplane. They're like, "Yeah, we get salary, we get benefits, we get this, that. Come work here." So I go over there. Now I
No.
get, yeah, now I got to train over there. And the guy that they give me to train, his name is Keith. And he is the 50-year-old former Lowe's store manager who's now in his second career as a pilot.
That's cool.
No, it wasn't,
Oh.
because there is not a thing that I could do right with Keith next to me. First of all, he hated airline pilots
Mm.
and he hated cargo pilots, and I was both. From the moment I sat in that airplane, just copying down the clearance for taxi.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, yeah, you're doing it wrong. Hey, what?
That's a him problem, not a you problem. That's a
Well,
personality issue that's unfortunately in a lot of people.
Well, unfortunately, it went on like that forever. It's like, "You're touching the buttons too hard. You're gonna break my buttons." Like, you do a takeoff and, you're like 50 feet off the ground. He goes, "Come on, get those landing lights off. You gotta turn those landing lights off." I'm like,
You're gonna burn them out. Yeah.
so normally that's like 1,000-foot thing, and you
I mean,
get
you're
to
doing
a
it 50 feet when it's critical and you're right over the
right.
runway. Yeah.
I go to turn and he goes, "What kind of turn is that?" I said, standard rate, you know?
No,
Sure.
nobody's ever flown well for that person.
He
It's
says
okay.
he says, "You can't turn like that. We got VIPs in the back of this airplane. If we got Dan Marino's back there, he's gonna feel this airplane move. He ain't never gonna fly with us again." So every day it was something like that. Like up until the time when we actually did, uh, we didn't plow through dolphins, but we plowed through a flock of buzzards,
Nice.
vultures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, Keith, we got to report this. No, we don't. Nobody needs to
Oh,
know about this. So yeah, there were so
we've all
many.
flown with that person,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
mentality that they're the only one that can do it the right way and no one else. Do they really go through life like those humans? It's a sad human being.
Every day.
Do they really
Every
go through
day.
life thinking that everyone around them is the one not doing it good enough?
Yes. And here's the thing. So Keith, when it came down to it, did not recommend me for my check
Of
ride.
course, of course.
And I was over it at that point. I went back to the first lady who gave me what I wanted in the first place because I left her in the lurch. She was calling me every day to come back, so I did.
Oh, perfect.
Uh, then I moved on to the airlines, and I ran into somebody I'd known as a flight instructor years later, and she says to me, "Didn't you work at this place with Keith?" I said, "Yeah, sort of." She had a very similar story. Turned out like the next 5 people that Keith trained also didn't get recommended for their check rides.
Yeah, nobody ever will. This person is
Yeah. No,
yeah.
no, they figured out that Keith was the problem, so they took him out of that role, made him director of operations.
Oh, perfect. Oh, it's F up, move up in that industry.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hate it. That's how
yeah.
it happened with me at the cargo place.
Sure.
Ugh,
Yeah.
these insufferable human beings somehow get promoted instead of fired.
Well, you know what? It happens in athletes too. Have you ever noticed this? You look at some of the best coaches in sports, some of the best baseball managers, the best basketball coaches, they were terrible players. And the reason that they're such good coaches is because they sat at the end of the bench, never got in the game, but they were sitting there the whole time just studying it, understanding how to make it
Yeah.
better. Now, I'm not saying that
Nobody
Keith,
does that in aviation. They don't
no,
study.
no, no, no. They just make it worse.
Because it's almost like PTSD hearing you talk about this. I have like these trauma flashbacks of these people that, I mean, this is even one of them I fly with now, where like nothing I do is going to be good enough for them. Oh, you got to push this button. You got to go gentle on that door handle. That door handle, you don't want to break that door handle. Like when you
Yeah.
said the landing lights thing or the pushing the buttons too soft or too hard. But you then when you go ahead and you push them softer, you got to push them harder than that. You won't get it to register.
I got a
And
funny
it's like,
story about a door handle, if I may.
ugh, yeah, go ahead.
Back when I was a stewardess, I worked for a very large airline, flew all around the world, and there was 50-year seniority flight attendants working there.
Ow.
Yeah, ladies in their 70s. And there's no retirement age on flight attending.
Yeah,
We
should be.
flew to Japan, and this old lady, 50 years, was at one of the upper deck doors on 747. Pull up to the gate, go to disarm the door. You gotta. We talked about arming and disarming on the
Yeah,
previous one.
it's a little bar on the bottom.
Yeah. Move a handle. You disarm the slide so that you can open the door without blowing the slide. Yeah, she just opened the door and blew the slide.
Oh no.
And it was, oh man, it was really cool because you ever been on a 747?
No, I've never had the pleasure.
That upper deck door is 4 stories high. So that slide from that upper deck door, four
Oh
stories
gosh.
down, 4 stories
Oh boy.
down. Yeah, and it was raining. I remember it was raining, and I looked at him like, water slide? Can I? Can I please? No, they wouldn't allow it, but she was she had to fill out a report, and she said the next day she's like, I sat in the hotel, I looked at this piece of paper about all the different things, all the excuses I could make, all the different ways this went wrong. I said, yeah, so what'd you write? What would your report say? She said, I wrote down, I pulled the wrong handle.
Oh boy.
And that was it. Yeah. You think she got in any trouble? Probably not.
No, but the pilots, and well, it's different. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I do
70
know.
something years old,
Yeah.
like I'm still
eh,
working a life critical position. Oh,
Yeah, and I was the junior man on that crew, so when it came time to fly that airplane home, they hadn't repackaged the slide. They just
yeah.
uh, they 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 marked that door as unusable and put the junior stewardess at it. That was me.
I don't want to like bash on any particular employer. Like you need jobs, right, for pilots
Sure.
to gather their career together. At the same time, like just be a decent human. Is that too hard to ask?
It is hard for a lot of people to ask, but that's why a lot of us will put up with it because you want to get to that point where you and I are now, where we are, 25 years into this, top of the pay scale, having a great time, living life.
Yeah,
You gonna go
I just
go-karting?
I
I'm
hope so.
just sitting here with, 3 weeks off of work, vacation.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Why? We'll do anything we can to get to this point. So, worst
Yep.
employers, they're all out there. We're all gonna deal with it at some point. If you didn't deal with your bad employer, you didn't earn your way. That's all I'm saying.
Or you haven't gotten your worst employer yet. It's
That's it.
coming.
It's
It's
coming.
somebody's got to be the worst.
That's it. Or we're here because we've survived.
We have. Oh boy.
You know a few dead pilots along the way?
Yeah, let's. I don't know if we can do it. That's a morbid episode to do. I don't know if we're gonna do that.
We will. I do. At some point, I
Yeah,
do. Yeah,
you want to do that episode?
I do. I do.
Okay. All right.
I know. I'm a dark and disturbed individual
Let's
at
do that
times.
around. That's Halloween would be kind of disrespectful to the dead. It's got to be a more morning. I don't know. Memorial Days for the veterans.
We'll figure it out. We'll save
Yeah.
that one. We'll save that one for a good
All
day.
right. Yeah, we got to schedule that at some point.
All right.
Morbid
Until
episode.
then, I am MC Howe.
And co-captain Richard Million.
Talk to you next time. Bye.